Hi guys, all CA final students writing Jan 26 exams. Here are the amendments that are applicable for Jan 26 exams. Don't worry, no major amendments at all. Just in ethics alone, two important amendments were there. And even in NBFC, minor clarification is added. It's not an amendment, it's actually there in RBI circular long ago, but now it is added in our book also, a clarification on NBFC related stuff. Now, with respect to ethics, by the way, if you see, this is the amendments PDF which I gave. And if you see, this kind of blue background wherever is there, that only amendments, that is only amendment. Okay, so rest of the content, no, I just gave it for, just a reference purpose. That's it. And by the way, you can also scan this QR code to go through one YouTube playlist where revision classes, all the videos will be uploaded for Jan exam. Okay, now, sir, where can I download this file? Before we proceed discussion of amendment, where you can download this file? Just go to Shrestha for CA CMA. Okay, Shrestha for CA. Click on the free resources. Just select CA final. And here you see P3 Advanced Audit GOAT Notes. Here you see Jan 26 amendments. Just click on that. You will get this particular file. Now, without any delay, let's first directly proceed to the most important amendment that is applicable for Jan 26 exam, that is professional ethics related. Okay, now what exactly in the professional ethics related? First I will talk about major amendment in the professional ethics, that is in the schedule number 2. In schedule number 2, part number 2, surprise, new clause is added. A new clause is added, clause number 5. A clause number 5 is added, which is a new clause. And so what is this new clause is talking about? You see, an audit of a company, continued in contravention. What exactly it is? A member shall be liable, a member shall be guilty if at all he acts as an auditor of a company in contravention of provisions of the Companies Act 2013. Corresponding amendment is only made in clause number 9 also. Okay, but I'll come back to clause number 9, schedule number 1, part number 1 little while later. Now what exactly this is? A member shall be guilty. Why? If at all he is acting as an auditor of a company in contravention of provisions of the Companies Act 2013. You have contravened the provisions of Companies Act and you are still continuing as an auditor of the company. Sir, somewhere this point we have already seen in schedule number 1, part number 1, clause number 9. Yes, similar point you have already seen in schedule number 1. What is this point? Look at, a CA in practice is treated as guilty if he is accepting the audit of a company without ascertaining compliance with 139, 140 of Companies Act. Nothing but without checking Companies Act provisions. If at all you are accepting the audit, you are guilty. Sir, this is also the same, no? Even whatever is there in the schedule number 1, clause number 9, schedule number 2, clause number 5, which is newly added, both are conveying same, no? No, there is a difference. Here, if at all you are acting as an auditor, if at all you are acting as an auditor in contravention of the provisions, what does it mean? Remember, there is something called casual vacancy. There is something called subsequent disqualification. Remember that. Suppose you accepted the appointment of the company. At the time of accepting appointment, you checked compliance with Companies Act. At the time of acceptance, you checked entire this 139, 140, all the provisions you checked, you are eligible. No disqualification, nothing. You accepted the audit after thorough checking with Companies Act, everything, where your appointment is absolutely valid. But after appointment, you are affected with disqualification. You, without even checking disqualification, you may be checked with it or you may not check with it, but you're actually disqualified. For example, in CA Inter, company law, audit and auditors chapter, you might have learned, or if at all you're a old scheme student of CA Inter audit, in company audit chapter, you might have learned an auditor, after being validly appointed, affected with disqualification, then he shall be deemed to be vacated the office. Yes or no? The auditor is deemed to be vacated. Suppose I am an auditor. I accepted the audit of a company validly. After checking 139, after checking 140, typically means there is no non-compliance with clause number 9. No non-compliance with clause number 9. No, not at all. I accepted validly. But after I was appointed as an auditor, one of my relative, without my knowledge, purchased shares in the company for a face value exceeding 1 lakh. And I don't even know this. 60 days time also over to correct it. But I even still don't know. Still I continued and gave an audit report. Now later I got to know that my relative is holding shares in the company where I am already disqualified, where the position of the auditor which I am holding is no more valid from the date of disqualification itself. I am deemed to have vacated, but I still continued. I still acted as an auditor, which is in contravention of the provisions of the Companies Act. So this provision would have been subsequent disqualification. That could be one of the example for this particular clause. Which means after you accept the appointment, if at all subsequent disqualification arises, whether you know it or not, keep it aside. You still continued as an auditor without checking any of this, whether you're subsequently disqualified or not. All that. So you continued as an auditor, so you are deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct. If at all any other example strikes me, I will clarify in the upcoming marathon. But this is what primarily clause 5. How clause 5 is different from schedule number 1, part number 1, clause 9. How 5 is different from 9. Now I told you. So clause number 5, I hope you are clear. So this is a new clause in the part number 2, schedule number 2. By the way, schedule number 2, part number 2 deals with what? Professional misconduct for members in general. Whether you are in practice or service, doesn't matter. Fine. Now, one more amendment in schedule number 1 related. Schedule number 1, part number 1, clause number 9. If you remember, what, clause number 9 deals with what? It is prohibiting to accept the audit without complying with Companies Act. Earlier it is only up to Companies Act, right? The clause scope is narrow to Companies Act only. But now other laws are also you need to check. Right now you are supposed to check even other laws. Look at how the section got modified. A CA is treated as guilty of professional misconduct. If at all, yes or no? If at all he is accepting audit of a company without ascertaining the compliance with 139, 140, like that will be there. Now they clearly mention 139 to 141. No change in that. The change is this additional line. What is this? If at all you are accepting the audit, under any other law, okay, related to appointment of auditor for the time being in force, you are accepting as an auditor without checking compliance under some other law. For example, under income tax law, you were appointed as a tax auditor. You did not check qualifications and disqualifications of tax laws and all. You blindly accepted without checking compliance with other laws. Okay, I mean income tax law, because this section, this particular clause number 9 originally deals only with Companies Act, company auditor position. Now every other auditor, suppose a corporate society is appointing you as an auditor, a cooperative society is appointing you as an auditor, and you accepted the audit of the society without checking compliance. You see, your appointment is invalid, but there is no specific clause punishing in the CA Act. So right now the clause number 9, the scope earlier is only Companies Act, whereas now the scope is enhanced to other laws as well. I hope you're clear now. So the scope of the clause has been widened. That's it. So typically this is not a major amendment also. Earlier also, if at all a member accepted appointment under some other law, by using clause number 9 only, institute used to punish them. Because this basis they will take. See, letter of the law sometimes has to be taken in has to be taken in intention point of view. Spirit of the law you should take, not the letter of the law. Here Companies Act only covered earlier, but the spirit of the law, not just Companies Act, wider. Now through letter also they are conveying the wider meaning of this clause number 9, intention. I hope you're clear. Just 1 minute. Yes, that's it. Okay, fine. So this is regarding ethics related amendment. Now coming to NBFC. This is just a clarification which is already there in the RBI circular for NBFC scale based regulations. Now those clarifications are also added. That's it. Now if you remember, if you go to our book, okay, I will show you. Those of you who are following my GoTo notes, just go to page number 242. Here there is a gliding path given, right? Okay, here MFI is there, right? Just what is this MFI? They just gave a definition below and they just added one provision related to MFI. I feel from exam point of view not that important, but still since it is part of the amendment, try to remember that. Okay, remember that. Now what are they saying here? This table as it is I copied, no, nothing changed. Now what is a microfinancial institution? They have not given any definition for us. Now the definition is given. What is a microfinancial institution? You see, an NBFC microfinancial institution is a non-deposit taking NBFC, correct? Where 60% of its total assets, at least minimum 60% of its total assets, excluding intangible assets, excluding intangible remaining assets, you see, out of that minimum 60%, they must be used for microfinance loans. 60% of the assets must be used for nothing but comprises. It should be comprising of microfinance loans. As per RBI microfinance loan regulations 2022. This is there long back. Just that now they are adding it as a clarification. It's not technically amendment in the banking law or NBFC law. It's just that the point is now brought into the institute book. That's it. Okay. Now, so what is an MFI? An MFI is an NBFC which is a non-deposit taking where 60% of its total assets comprise microfinance loan. What is a microfinance loan? Which is not there, even in our ICA book also it is not given, but just for your understanding I'll tell you what is a microfinance loan. Microfinance loan is an unsecured loan given to an individual whose household income do not exceed 3 lakh rupee. Latest definition I'm telling you, if a household income of the borrower does not exceed 3 lakh rupee, then any loan, unsecured loan given to him is called as microfinance loan. And microfinance loans generally will be given by whom? Predominantly microfinancial institutions. That's it. Okay. Now that is one definition which is added. Apart from that, there is one more amendment. If a microfinancial institution, this is the criteria, right, for an MFI. If a microfinancial institution does not meet the criteria continuously for 4 quarters, it must submit a remedial plan to the RBI for further actions. Nothing but there are some microfinancial institutions who has lent microfinance loans, okay, who has lent microfinance loans less than 60%. Means they have given loans which are not microfinance. They might have given loan 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs worth also to some borrowers. That is not a microfinance loan, and the microfinance loans are less than 60%. That's called contravention. That is called contravention. That is called does not meet the criteria. So see, minimum 60% of the total loans must be total assets. Minimum 60% of the total assets must be microfinance loans. But in the given case, for example, take one microfinance NBFC whose microfinance loans are less than 60% of the total assets, less than 60%, and like that they continued continuously for 4 quarters. Then they must submit how they are going to comply with this situation to the RBI. Remediation plan they need to submit. If they fail to submit, their MFI might get cancelled also. That's it. This is just a clarification which is added, okay, which RBI has issued a circular. A circular has been issued specifically from RBI into 2025, and that circular related clarification is added. Remember, this is there long back, okay, whereas this 4 continuous quarters circular alone is added now. Okay, this particular 4 continuous quarters, this might be relevant for MCQ. This might be relevant for MCQ. I won't say that it pakka will come, no, but it is relevant. Okay, this definition is there long back, whereas this 4 quarters point is there, right? This was recently clarified. This was recently issued by RBI as a circular. So if a microfinancial institution failed to comply with the criteria of 60% for 4 continuous quarter, so registration and all they won't cancel. The NBFC MFI has to submit to the RBI remedial action plan. So how are they going to come out of this situation? How are they going to comply? They need to submit a remedial plan. What RBI will do later on, all that is not relevant for us. Remember, bank audit, NBFC audit, the knowledge that is expected from us chartered accountants is only a moderate level, not expert level. That's it. Next, coming to prudential norms. In prudential norms, here there is one small inclusion. Other assets is there, right? In prudential norms, risk weighted assets percentages is there, right? Other assets is there, right? Inside that others to be specified is there, right? Here you just have to add including ROU assets. What is ROU? Right to use assets. Right to use assets. So even on right to use assets, percentage of risk weight is how much? 100. When you are computing capital requirement adequacy ratio, you need to calculate risk weighted averages. Yes or no? So for that 100% we need to take in other assets. Others includes what? They specifically give a clarification that including ROU. This just including ROU assets is newly added. That's it. Okay. Next, by the way, in the recent September attempt in CA final, risk weights calculation also they are asking. I don't know, like, okay, fine. Next, coming to NBFC lending against gold jewelry. No amendment. What is an NBFC? Tier 1 capital for NBFC, which is lending against gold jewelry. The tier 1 capital is 12. The same thing is there right now also. No changes at all. But one extra point they added. They should also follow RBI rules on deferred tax and deferred tax liability, deferred tax asset treatment. So RBI might have given some deferred tax assets and deferred tax liability as per RBI. As per gold and silver collateral directions 2025. So RBI has given separate directions for gold and silver based loans. Separate directions. As per that, some DTA, DTL liability treatment regarding that they spoke. So these NBFCs which are primarily engaged in lending against gold jewelry, they should also comply with these directions. That's it. It is just they are clarifying that NBFCs which are lending against gold predominantly, they should also follow these particular directions. Which directions? RBI lending against gold, silver, collateral directions. RBI lending against gold and silver, collateral directions 2025. By 1st April 2026, they should comply with this particular treatment in their accounts. That's it. Only these are the amendments. Hardly 15 minutes. I hope you will never forget. Remember, in ethics, after insertion of the new clause number 5, now effectively the total clauses came to 35. Yes or no? So, schedule 1 has almost, 12 plus 2, 14 plus 5, 19. Schedule 2 has 16. Totally, say schedule 1 plus schedule 2 put together, 35 clauses we have now. Earlier we used to have 34 clauses, now 39 clauses were there. So, in part 2, schedule 2, clause number 5 is newly added. For your reference, clause number 4 is about defalcation of embezzlement or defalcation of money received. Yes or no? That's it. So with this, amendments session is over. That's it, guys. All the very best. With respect to Jan 26, if possible, I will try to give a new marathon for advanced auditing by November end or December 1st week at least. I'll try my level best. Okay, that's it.